Good evening and welcome to a very special interview show of TheProde. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to have the father of branding, David Aaker, sir, with us. David Aaker, hailed the father of modern branding, serves as the vice chair at Profit. He is a recognized authority on branding, has developed several concepts, including the Aaker brand vision model, and has received numerous awards for his contributions to the science of marketing. He has authored and published hundreds of articles and 18 books, including Aaker on branding and building strong brands, and his books have been translated in 18 languages and sold over 1 million copies. Today, sir is here with us to discuss his new book titled The Future of Purpose-Driven Branding, which demonstrates how firms can create signature programs, build their brands, and use them to advance a business brand in order to maintain relevance and connect with the future consumers. The link to the book is attached in the description box below, so do check it out. So, sir, very warm welcome to TheProde, and I would like to begin the discussion by asking that, what inspired you to write another book on branding, and what was your motivation behind this?
Well, the motivation for my really last two books have been to a really uh, a strategic issue facing most organizations. The one before this was called Owning Game-Changing Subcategories, and it introduced branding into the whole area of disruptive innovation. The only way to grow is to create major transformations, not minor modifications. But the last book is tries to look at a more careful look at branding's role in the decision to introduce social purpose and social programs into a business strategy, as opposed to having it as a set aside area of philanthropy or so forth. And it just seemed like that the whole concept of having a purpose in your professional life, having meaning in your professional life, as an employee, as a person, uh, as a as a professional, or as an organization, and there's a growing insistency that you need to have a purpose, you need to have meaning, you need to do more than just increase sales and profits. And so I've been long interested in that. In fact, maybe four of my books have a whole chapter on social purpose or higher purpose. And so I finally decided I should write a whole book about it.
So, what is your assessment and definition of purpose-driven branding, and how is it different from the traditional branding?
Well, by really making a distinction between a business purpose that's sort of guiding the functional ability of a business to create sales and profits and provide for their customers, and a purpose that also includes the concept of doing something for mankind, for advancing the society as it faces social challenges, and 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 what I've come to believe is that the idea that you could have a purpose that your purpose is to increase sales or profits is just not good enough. It's not even good enough to have a purpose to create insanely great products like Steve Jobs famously wanted to do. That's not inspiring enough. It's not meaningful enough. You also have to have a purpose that makes it comfortable and feasible for people to create social programs, and but not all organizations can have a business purpose that has that big umbrella. They can't all be a Patagonia or a company that's really in business to save the earth or so forth, and they can't all be in the business of making windmills or making organic food or something. And so for most businesses, you need a second purpose. You need a business purpose and a social purpose. But and I think that helps when it materializes. It helps people function better because they can have a business purpose that is unencumbered with some sort of forced effort in a different direction. But then they have a social purpose that um, then can handle the job of providing an umbrella to their sort of the projects and initiatives and programs that have a social bent to it.
Yeah. So in your book, you talked about the pathway to business social leadership. So could you please put some light on the same?
Well, I think things about the book that then adds to the discussion. One is that when you have a social effort, if you're really committed, what happens often is it consists of grants, volunteering, it consists of energy goals, and it might be an enormous amount of money. I mean, like take Google, for example. They spent they raised bonds worth $5.5 billion, but almost all of it was used in that way. A lot of it was used to build buildings that are green or to convert data centers so they're less energy resistant, to use clean energy. But there's no branded programs. And what you need is a program that has a brand, that has an objective that people can relate to, that has stories behind it. And then you use that program to represent that program. A small part of social effort that communicates, because that's what brands do. So you have a branded program, and so for example, Lifebuoy soap has a program started in India called Help a Child Reach 5, and it's a hand washing program that's now reached over 500 million people to get their hands washed, and they're and that this has dramatically reduced the number of kids below the age of 5 that died each year from waterborne illnesses. So this is a program. They introduced program in 4 villages in India, and or 3 villages, and they put a video out on each of them, and they got 44 million views. So that's a program that really sort of carries the flag for all of Lifebuoy's social efforts. It communicates and represents who they are and what they do. But the second element of the book that's really important is there's been a recognition that social programs to thrive really need to help the business. If they don't, they're going to be vulnerable. Today and in the United States, there's a downsizing of companies because of the recession. That's either here or people see it coming, and programs are at risk because they're looking for things to. They're making 5%, 10%, 12% reductions in headcount, and social programs are at risk because they have to make tough decisions, and so they make the tough decisions to reduce that or eliminate it. But if that program is affecting the business, in fact, if it's an important driver of the business, it's going to be safe. Not only is it going to be safe, it's going to thrive. It's going to get more and more resources. So you look at Lifebuoy, for example, the Help a Child Reach 5, is the business strategy. It is the marketing strategies. It's the energy. It's visibility strategy. It's the loyalty strategy. It's everything, because it does so much for the brand. And the brand would not have grown, would not have been healthy without it. And so it's safe from these vulnerabilities. So that's really the really the point of the book, that you need a branded signature program, and you need to use that branded signature program to help the business, and that you do that by helping the business brand, giving it more relevance, more energy, more loyalty, and in doing so, the business will then be motivated to support the social program.
So, how do the factors like climate change and identity inequalities, as you mentioned in your book, affect the businesses of today, and what is the way forward?
Would you repeat that?
Yeah. How do the factors like climate change as well as identity inequalities affect the businesses of today, as you mentioned in your book, and what is the way forward?
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, I think that climate change and inequality are among the two most important um, sort of social programs facing the world and facing society and facing firms. So, for one thing, they uh, if climate change renders large parts of the world uninhabitable or less inhabitable, or more oriented toward just getting food and shelter, and not doing the things that make life richer, most companies will see their markets decline or dissolve, and that's not helpful for anybody, and they'll be affected therefore directly or indirectly. So it's important for them to do something, and the reality is that uh, that governments can't do everything. In fact, governments are very limited. In fact, if you look around the world, and governments are very limited in the area of climate change. Meeting not a month or so ago in Europe, where they tried to figure out how they could finance what had to be done to combat climate change. And so in the face of the limitations of government, firms can do something. It's remarkable how much they are doing. And firms have resources. Firms have firms have local knowledge as well as global knowledge. And firms have agility. They can move develop fast. They can implement them fast. They can test them, and they can leverage them to other areas. And governments have a trouble operating at smaller scale, at local scale. Governments are much better at big numbers, and so there's a role to play. And but further, a lot of companies really need what social programs bring to their business. I mean, I talked about the Lifeboy Help a Child Reach 5. Just think of the relevance they bring. Relevance means visibility and credibility for a certain thing. Your product is relevant if it's visible and credible. And one of the goals of disruptive innovation is to make other firms not relevant because they're no longer making what your innovation has. So it gives you a relevance, it gives you energy, it gives you likability, and it gives you loyalty. You have an attachment because of the social program. So the social program can help your business, and sometimes enough to defer part of the cost of the program, but at other times the program is the brand. It is the marketing program. that was certainly the case with Lifebuoy. And in the United States, we have Dove, another soap that has the real beauty program to help women feel more self-confident. And that really, again, is their brand strategy. And so another reason to attack that is just to help your business.
So, now coming to the future of branding. So, what does the future hold for branding? Do you think that in the world of energy security, inflation, food security, and war, the companies will have the capital as well as the resources for emphasizing on branding?
Well, I think one future is that it's going to introduce social programs into the brand strategy, into the brand vision. So that's going to become part of it. Another part of the future is in the area of disruptive innovation. Like I pointed out in my Owning the Game-Changing Category book, the idea is that to grow, you really need disruptive innovation. You need transformational innovation. Incremental innovation is not good enough. And when that comes to the table, what is missing is branding. All these books on disruptive innovation barely mention branding, but branding is pivotal. You have to make the brand the exemplar of this disruptive innovation. You have to use that brand to position the whole subcategory. You have to use it to scale the subcategory, to make it bigger. You have to use it to build barriers, around the subcategory. And so you have a brand like Airbnb that's created a whole new subcategory of how you get reservations and find places to stay. That's a lot more interesting and varied than just going to a hotel. And so that created a new subcategory, and Airbnb had to be the one that positioned it, had to tell people why this is good, why it's more convenient, how you get a more interesting vacations or even business trips, and how you can have a personal relationship with the owner that you don't have if you go to a Hilton or a Marriott, and how it was so easy to use, and then they had to scale it fast by getting a lot of owners to participate and a lot of users to be part of the family, and then they had to build barriers and show why this is the true way to experience this new subcategory, and others would not be able to deliver on all these what I call must-haves. You must have. That's what defines the subcategory. So I think in the future, branding is going to have to be more involved in disruptive innovation, creating new subcategories. It has to show the way that social programs can live and thrive in a business world.
Technology. So I would like to conclude my discussion by asking that how artificial intelligence as well as automation is going to shape the future of branding, and to what extent it will impact. Also, how big of an impact does the social media have on traditional branding?
So it's well, artificial intelligence is having a big impact. The biggest impact it's having at the moment, I think, is helping companies interact with customers in a digital environment. So if you're talking to the company, in the past, it was really almost impossible to talk to a person. Well, to this day at Amazon, you can't talk to a person. Many other companies, you can't talk to a person. But with artificial intelligence, you now can talk to a person. And artificial intelligence is growing to the point where that experience can be very much like talking to an actual person. So I think that the role of artificial intelligence in branding is really going to be to try to make the digital experience as personal as possible, and to get to the point in the digital experience where maybe a real person does come into the discussion in certain rare areas. So I think that can really help the brand experience. And what was the other thing you mentioned? Inequality.
Social media, the impact of digital as well as social media.
Social media is really, I have a belief that the ultimate in brand loyalty is brand community. And brand community is a group of people with maybe customers, maybe not, that Thrivent, a major financial services firm in the U.S., have 4 million members, and they organize them into zip codes, which are little small parts of cities, and they get together as a community and they engage in community social programs, and they're all part of the larger Thrivent community, and it's a group of people that have this common interest, common passion, common activities, and so they gather together, and they're joined by that common interest. And I think that a brand community is the ultimate in brand loyalty, and brands that can do so should strive to create brand communities. And one of the cores of a brand community is the brand website and the social media that surrounds it. So this community have to go to somebody's home or to somebody's church or somebody's school. They can go community, and they can gather and engage in a digital discussion with a Zoom group, for example, and they can use email to plan events, to communicate about events, because the important role of a community is to communicate with each other, and social media is some part of that. So one of the roles in branding for social media is to help support brand communities. Another is I mentioned in disruptive innovation, you have to scale you have to build barriers, and media is really important. Some where they started this concept of selling razors by the internet, and they used e-commerce to be instantly available, and they used social media to become aware. So they did this 3 or 4 minute video. It's a wonderful video. You can see it on YouTube. And this is about 10 years ago. They had this owner come out and gave this incredibly humorous and irreverent video explaining why Gillette and the drugstores of the world were so old-fashioned, and this was so convenient, so inexpensive, so satisfactory in getting your razor blades. Anyway, and 48 hours, they had 18,000 subscribers. And so that meant they scaled over the weekend of business. 4 years later, that business sold to Lever Brothers or Unilever for $1 billion. But the social media made it possible. This viral ad made it possible. And then social media can also help you build barriers by creating a way to buy and a convenience and so on that provides barriers to others. So I think that's one of the biggest roles social media will play.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your kind views as well as insights. It was a pleasure having you on our show. Thank you once again. And I would like to request the audience to check out the link in the description box and order your copies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.